What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Miguel. You're watching Miguel EDC, the channel where we talk everything EDC gear here. And today I got two knives from Lothar. We're gonna go ahead and check out here today. I think these are a revision to an existing older model, so that's always exciting. Of course, I'll have these linked down below so you guys can check out prices, availability, and variants. Yeah, it looks like they did an update to one model. We're gonna go ahead and check them out here in no particular order. They revised some of their designs and they are just kind of updating the ergos and the feel, materials, and things like that. So we're gonna go ahead and get in here. If I can get this thing to work, then that would be amazing. Otherwise, let's see. All right, this first one here I think is the Lich King, and we have checked out a Lich King before here on the channel, and I think they maybe sent this one for reference, or is this the updated one? Oh, this one might be the updated one, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see, let's take a look. Here it is. Oh yeah, absolutely. So we have a plunge lock, button lock on this one now. It is rocking a good old button lock there, so it's going to be a little bit more fidgety. As far as the overall design, from what I remember, just kidding, I'm actually looking at the OG here on the side. And I did an unboxing on this one some time ago, and I'm just going to put them side by side here so you guys can see at least the profile. It looks perhaps, it's going to compare and contrast here, this Lich King V2. Maybe this peak section right here is a little bit longer on the new version. Remember, the one with the button lock is the new version, right? This one here is the older version. So it looks like they revised the flipper as well. Flipper has a different design. As far as that goes, we already talked about the handle being a little bit pointier right here, a little bit longer. So overall length should be just a tad bit more. As far as the design, more or less, it looks somewhat the same. Same thing with the G10 inlays, lanyard hole, right? All that good stuff. And we have the same pocket clip. We do. It's just as Lothar here. It's a little bit cleaner. Doesn't have the line with the wings and all that. But yeah, this is the Lich King. So we'll come back to this guy in a moment. But let's see. Revised flipper here with some good jimping. Even wraps around and bam. Right there is that mean geometry on this guy. We got a awesome, what are we calling this? A harpoon tanto. Has a little bit of recurve. So it's a dual ground recurve harpoon tanto, right? Find me in the comments, get the blade police out here, because I don't know, that's my best guess. But we do have 14C 28N steel on this one. It has this gray finish going on this new version. So that's looking nice there. We'll do our scientific test, of course, in a moment. Lothar logo, not too big, right? Definitely the billboarding department is pretty tame, and I love to see that. We have a hole here with a fuller, and obviously there's your good old plunge lock, button lock. Right there, not the strongest locking system, but you know, for what it's worth, right? Very, very fidgety, very easy to manipulate. And are we doing this earlier in the video? Yes, we are. I'm gonna get the subscribe stick of truth right here, and we're gonna do a quick whack test. All right, that's about all it takes right there. That should be more than enough, right, to prove a point. And we have quite a bit of a heavy blade here, so no, you know, no button stick or anything like that. It actually rebounds with the coil spring there pretty well. And yeah, I mean, this thing even has some acoustics on the close. There's your detent. I mean, there's your, it's funny I say that, there's your detent experience, but there's no detent ball. The plunge grind itself is, you know, acting as a detent for the lack of one, per se. So let's check out the lockup right here. Pretty strong. There's your stop pin, right, on the open position. Bam, and yeah, rock solid, no movement side to side of any kind. Now you can deploy here with your thumb as well. You can you Spidey flick? Do I remember Spidey flicking this thing? There you go, off of the hole. I was trying to do it off of the fuller, but off of the hole is where it's at. So kind of wish the hole was a little bit bigger, right? Because this peaky section of the handle right here kind of robs you a little bit of access, but there you go. You can do it. And of course, the ergos are going to be really, really good. You're going to be mostly behind the flipper tab right there. So index fingers goes in this curvature. All other fingers follow suit and you are good to go. There's your standard jimping. And of course, you can put your thumb further forward here on the blade. And that's where it's at. That's where you're going to feel the most comfortable. This recurve geometry, which is really sharp, by the way. We're going to test this thing in a moment. Yeah, that's going to trap material. It's going to definitely enhance the performance of the knife. And yeah, you got proud liners here, right? The liners become bolsters. This is all stainless steel, in case you're wondering. Obviously, for the price, these are very affordable. G10 inlays and also a G10 backspacer. So now what's a little bit odd is the pocket clip situation. It's not deep carry, so it gives you about that much out of the pocket, and it's also not reversible, so something to keep in mind. For all my folks out there who are like, Miguel, you're always saying positive things about the knives. You never point out the negatives. Like, what's wrong with you? Listen, fam, you must not be watching the entire video. I don't know. If you're watching the first 2 minutes and then clicking away to something else because you have the attention span of a goldfish, then that's a different story. But you got to watch the whole video before you leave a comment like that, because yeah, I do go over the stuff that stands out, that is positive, and I also point out everything that it may be a negative or a downside. So that's always how I do my videos here. By the way, we have some milling on the inside for weight reduction, in case you were wondering. Definitely got that going on. So let's go ahead and check out this second one here, this other box. All right, let's see what this one is all about. I think this one might be another revised version of the Lich King, if I'm not mistaken. Let's find out together here. We got that zipper pouch, bam, paperwork, and by the way, you do get a wiping cloth as well. And here is the knife. Here we go. Yeah, so this one's looking very similar as this guy. Okay, I see what's different. So let's go ahead and get a 2x zoom and just kind of put it through the fine lens here and see. Screw the knives. What do we have? So the, we were just looking at the plunge lock, button lock version. This is the same revised version. By the way, you're getting bigger hardware here. You're getting T8. Again, for reference, by the way, I'm gonna slap in the original one in the middle. So back with the original one, I also confirm another difference. You used to get a bolt right here in the bolster. Right, there's an additional hardware there. Now the bolster is really clean. There is no hardware on the bolster at all. And you used to get T6 all around except the pivot. Now you get one less body screw right here, and you get T8s all around. So that's also a nice improvement there. I just spotted yet another difference. Check out the pivot right there. It is captive on the new version. So you used to have a T8 on the original one, but it is now a captive on the revised version with just a T8 on the other side. I really like the orange pop of color there on the pivot color. I think that's also still pretty neat, pretty cool there. Again, compared to the OG one, you still get a little bit peaky, lengthier handle. Let me know in the comments. Again, this one right here being the OG Lich King. But yeah, we looked at the plunge lock, button lock. This one is similar flipper tab, except you don't have the plunge lock, button lock. If I had to take a guess, I think this one might be just a hair more affordable. And guess what? It is a liner lock. So we do have a good access to that liner, which is nice and mill right there. It stands out a little bit further than the outside of the handle. So easy to disengage. So it really depends. If you're not a button lock guy, they got you covered with the liner lock. If you are not a liner lock guy, they got you covered with the button lock. So lock up right there about 35% or so. Not bad at all. Really digging that. There's your detent ball. And yeah, ball bearings on here as well. Again, you have a little bit of a difference. You do have exposed liners on this one all the way through. On this other one, the liners become the bolster. Here, you actually have the individual liners, and then the bolsters are a different piece on top of the liner. So a little bit of a difference right there. Just again, comparing and contrasting these two. For your sake, you're probably sitting there, which one should I pick? If you're really trying to pick one up over the other, it just maybe comes down to locking mechanism preference. Right, button lock over liner lock, if anything, but everything else is pretty much on par. So that reverse flick, for some reason, again, I wish the hole was just a little bit bigger. And hold on, I'm maybe noticing a little bit more chamfering on the opening hole. I'm also noticing the hole here is a little bit bigger on the non-button lock one. So I'm not sure why that is. If you look at them here side by side, right, check out the hole cut out, right? It's a little bit shorter on this guy, doesn't have as much chamfering, and this one, it's a little bit of a bigger hole, and it has a little bit more chamfering. As far as overall size, they're pretty much on par right there. I'll go ahead and do a quick measurement here. We have an 8.5 inch overall length on both of these, as you can see there. Then we have a 3.5 inch blade, 3.5 inch blade with a 3.5 cutting path, and the handle is going to be 5 inches, guys. 5 inches on the handle. So for all my folks out there, like, I like them big, Miguel. I want the big knives. Where the big knives at, Miguel? I got you right here. These are the knives for you, my big knife fans. Look no further. But yeah, just under 9 inches, 8.5. Not bad right there. Obviously, check your local law, see what length knife you can carry. We'll go ahead and toss in just a few more to give you a ballpark. There is the MSI from Microtech. Here is the Stitch. By the way, these are rocking Lex Custom International scales, which are awesome, titanium. Really cool stuff. I did an install video on each of these here on the channel if you guys want to check it out. Definitely changes the knife completely. I have links for these below as well as every other knife you see in this video, of course. It does help out the channel when you use those links, but that is entirely up to you and at zero extra cost. There is the PM2. Here is the Para 3 from Spyderco. Actually, the PM2 is a little bit shorter. Like, obviously, Para 3 is much shorter as well. Here's the Demko AD 20.5, and here's the Kunwu Chad. So all these are going to be a little bit shorter, right? These are obviously a little slightly larger knives, as I was saying earlier. So hopefully you own some of those. I'll give you more or less a ballpark idea where these land. But let's go ahead and get scientific with it here, shall we? We got 14C 28N steel. I got me some paper and some cardboard. So without further ado, let's start with the button lock version first for sake of consistency. There we go. Once it bites, bam, you're good to go. And I was trying to figure out, obviously, if you can cut with this portion here. And you absolutely can, in case you're wondering. Yes, that is pretty sharp. But I'm noticing, too, what's interesting about this geometry. And I'm not sure if I remember saying this way back then when I did the original review on the Lich King. But it feels like once it gets over to the little peak portion of the tanto there, the recurve performance is really nice. Right? Check that out. You know, there's no issues there with the recurve. Is if you let it go to this point, then it tapers off a little bit. So it's best to just keep it in that recurve portion as long as you can. But yeah, is it gonna cut paper? No doubt. And there you go. Can do that all day. And then we have some cardboard right here. Piece of cardboard, right? Single wall. Cutting at a diagonal angle here with the button lock first. Oh yeah, so again, definitely do this really well, guys. Trapping material, going through the material even more efficiently because of that geometry right there. Yeah, so it's gonna cut that cardboard pretty effortlessly. Switching over to the liner lock version, all right, should be pretty much the same. Yep, no issues there. Breaking news, in case you were wondering if they cut or not. The answer is yes, right? They cut. And here's what happened. I tapered off a bit on that one. So that's just what I was saying earlier. The one final one. So you guys rate these in the comments on a scale from 1 through 10, guys. How sharp are they? How much of an edge do they come with from the factory? You all let me know. Also, while you're in the comments, guys, let me know what do you like about these? What do you love about them? Is there anything you dislike about them? Let me know. Let's hang out in the comment section down below. Really hope you guys have enjoyed the video. And of course, links for these knives and every other knife you saw in this video down below. Remember, it does help out the channel when you use those links, but that is entirely up to you and at zero extra cost. Hope you guys really enjoyed this one. If you made it to the end, you're the real MVP. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Either this one or this one. Peace.